Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Saturday, and welcome to the Finance Rebel Show. This is our Saturday edition. This is our Wealth Conversation Saturdays. And today I have got a really special guest. Now, I know every time a host says they got a special guest, it's every guest. But today, me and this person have a special connection. And she's a wonderful lady. I'm talking about no other than Sonia Lewis, the student loan doctor. Now, I kind of met Sonia. I don't want to say the night that the student loan doctor was birthed, but I've had the pleasure of seeing it. And we have a very interesting story. But, you know, Sonia's been all over the place. She's in all kinds of publications and magazines, from Black Enterprise to Forbes to several others that I can't remember off the top of my head. But let's start it off here. The number of the day, $1.6 trillion.
Yes.
All right. So $1.6 trillion, Sonia, student loan debt. How do you feel about that? How is that impacting people?
Yeah.
What, how is that impacting our community overall?
So thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited for our conversation. $1.6 trillion in student loan debt. I'm going to be really, really honest. Before the CARES Act and the stimulus, I thought that number could not be eradicated. I feel a little differently now that I'm seeing money just appear.
Right.
So now I'm going to get to probably at some point in this conversation why our $1.6 trillion student loan debt is not going to go away. I just have high hopes now. But the number is really more than a number. Is disproportionately affecting our community. So when I hear $1.6 trillion in student loan debt, I think about there's 47 million Americans that have that $1.6 trillion. I think about the percentage of the 47 million that are African American, and then I think about the percentage that are not only African American, but also women. And when we look at those numbers, they make the majority of the 47 million. And I don't want to misquote it, but I want to say over 75%. So when I hear $1.6 trillion, I take it very personal, because the $1.6 trillion is me. She looks like me. It's you. He looks like you. It's our community. And we're not talking numbers to just say the number because we want to shock people. We're talking about the number because it affects people's longitude of legacy, what they are not going to be able to do in this lifetime. So when we talk about eradicating 1.6 trillion, whether it's through forgiveness, whether it's through a government program, whether it's through our own entity and our own jobs, it's something that we've got to take really, really serious. And so today's conversation makes a lot of sense because somebody watching this is affected by that 1.6 trillion.
I mean, we see this 1.6 trillion, and I think the average amongst 40 million people, I think it's like either $20,000 or $30,000 on average. And student loan debt, I know my student loan debt far exceeds that.
About 40,000 a person. Thereabouts.
40,000 person. So I was off. So I mean, how does that affect your average American? And I mean, listen, majority of my community looks like you and I, so we could always keep it real. How does it affect the Black community?
Well, the average American is, if they're holding 40,000, they could treat that like a nice car and get that paid off, right? You could pay 40,000. You've paid a car before you've paid close to 40,000. But when we talk about the community that looks like you and I, we're talking about six-figure debt, $100,000 plus debt. Now that is not an easily paid off entity. $100,000 plus looks like enrolling into a forgiveness option. But then if we're going into the forgiveness program that's going to be tangible, now we can't get that job that's going to pay that amount of money we want to make. So you could work for a nonprofit or a not-for-profit, but you're probably going to be making, under 80,000 to really take advantage of that program. Because if you get into income-driven repayment above 80,000, the model changes. And the forgiveness is really null and void. So we got to talk about that, right? So now it's not even worth sometimes trying to fit into that model, because then my lifestyle can't exceed my expectations. Or, Kamar, if I got to be really honest, maybe somebody watching does get that job that makes 50, 60,000, but has that awesome side hustle or has that awesome second business. We're not relying on one job or one business anymore to bring in the income we want. I didn't say you couldn't make 300,000 and then, not go for that forgiveness option. Now you'll be really creative with your taxes when you get into that place, but it's possible. So the challenge here is how do you live your unquote unquote, your best life? But maybe you are trying to take advantage of some government programs such as public service loan forgiveness, or maybe you live your best life, you make 300, 400,000 a year, and you eradicate your own student loan debt by living like you make 50, which is very possible.
Right. All right, so let's put a pin in that for a minute. Let's go back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
How did Sonia Lewis become the student loan doctor?
Well, Kamari is interesting. I have my IG Live up. I have to show your face for this moment.
Oh, you got your IG Live up?
I do.
Okay.
Everyone, Kamari.
Yeah.
So I think, Kamari, you're fundamentally top reasons why this came into existence. And I think God makes no accident. When I was sitting in that room with you, I was going through a personal transformation. So the room we were sitting in was the Urban League. You were doing a presentation on understanding finances. I think it was geared towards millennials. The conversation of student loan debt had came up. And I'm going to pause right there and say, at that same time, I was taking financial literacy courses at church. And the conversation of student loan debt was coming up. And at church, I was helping people, not as a guru or anything of that nature, but more so that was my professional background. And I was like, oh, all you got to do is, okay. Now, at this point in these church programs, I was probably exhausted by feeling like our community had been let down. There were so many people that didn't know the information that I had knew. And I just thought it was common sense, or everybody knew this. Everybody graduated. Nobody knew this stuff. But similar to what you may feel when you're speaking to a room, right?
Yeah.
So you were talking, I never forget. You closed the presentation. You did a good job. Not gonna lie, it was good. But I was mad. And actually, I don't really get wound up about anything, quite honest. But I was mad at you. And the only reason I was mad is because, and not to your own fault, you didn't stay, in my opinion, long enough on student loan debt. And I remember feeling like when I looked around the room, it was maybe about 50, 60 of us.
Yeah, it was a good number.
Yeah, so it was a hefty number for that type of meeting. I remember that everybody in that room felt tight, like they wanted more. And I remember the room's reaction to when you brought up student loan debt. I mean, literally people leaned into you a little more. And then we talked for a little and then we closed it. Now, again, you didn't know that probably was the room's biggest hurdle. Nobody knew actually, right? Because we don't talk about these things. And I remember we went to Q&A. And I had said, I forget, I wish I would have wrote it down, something about student loan debt. But I had to apologize to everyone, to Kamari later, because I was very forceful in my question and delivery. And it looked like I was trying to make an example out of him, I felt like. But it was Kamari, it could have been Susie Crockett up there. It wasn't even about Kamari at that moment. I just saw Sally Mae dressed as a black man, and I was upset.
And so, I mean, I wasn't offended, right? And I thought we were having a dialogue. I mean, for me, when I get in the rooms, even for me when I'm doing lives, I prefer dialogues, because that's kind of part of the reason why I kind of fell in love with doing this, because when I was on the radio, I recognized that I could have a dialogue, and instead of just doing presentation and just talking to you off the top of my head or some kind of pre-scripted thing, I can then speak to what's on your heart and on your mind at that given time. And so, honestly, I was more than happy to have that dialogue with you, and I was actually very happy that you were even thinking about it and that passionate. Now, I don't know if I should jump ahead, but I'll let you finish your part, because I didn't know you were mad at me. I thought
mad may be the wrong word. Passionate could be better, but I
didn't get any like negative vibes.
What
you said was we need more student loan information.
Yeah, the topic put me into a tizzy, and No, so let me say that again. So I wasn't mad at you because I like you. I remember. I will remember that. I'm being serious. It put me into a tizzy because I felt like we as a room had needed more. I felt like everything I was feeling from that church class that I was helping people with came up. So this is so not personal. It was just so, I'm like, we got to put a stop to this today, you know. And Kenji was maybe,
Shout out to Kenji.
yeah, Kenji. He's maybe one row in front of me. And I knew Kenji passively at that point, but not like a lot. And he turned around and he said, well, you might be on to something. And I was like, well, yeah. I was like, because I felt like, you know, so we're talking. And I said to him, now this is where the birth of the student loan doctor comes into place. And this is where Kenji comes in. And I said to him, I said, maybe we should meet. Because whatever he said in that room had sparked that he saw something that I had saw. To be quite honest, we both didn't know what we saw. We saw something. And I said to him, I said, I don't have any money. I said, but I could feed you. You eat Applebee's or something? That's where I live now. I wish I could still take people to Applebee's. You know, it's good. People expect, you know, Ruth Chris. Now I'm like, you don't like Applebee's? So Kenji took my chicken tender offer and we sat there. I'll never forget. He was very professional. He came with some paper. I don't know. I came with paper. Somebody came with paper and he drew out like a tree almost. And he put it in the middle. We didn't have a name for it. It wasn't called, I don't think it was called Student Loan Doctor yet. I think he put my name in the middle and he drew out like a web, some things and ways I could go with this idea. And I didn't know what the idea was yet. I'm like, am I monetizing the student? I was like, am I monetizing student loans? So it's very foggy. Now I leave Kenji now, and I just really thank God that he had the right people at the right time in the right place that were able to pour into me or offer some type of course or service. A young lady in DC, her name is Tamara, and we had so much in common. And her name is the business doctor. I was like, I like that. Not to be funny. It's just like when you hear it, you know what?
It's a great sound.
So I asked her. Now, this is what people don't do these days, Kamari. I asked her. I said, would it be okay if I named myself the student loan doctor? Her and I were both in the same school, the same doctoral program. We had so much in common. I was scared. And I said, because that's what I want to do. And I want people, when they see my name, to just know student loans doctor, like you are a business. I said, would you be offended by that? And she said, no, but she said, thank you for asking. I said, oh, sure. I said, because I think that's great. I said, that's genius. I said, I could see myself with a stethoscope. I mean, so literally, I'll never forget. It was my first time ever driving from Philadelphia to somewhere, and it happened to be DC for some professional development. It was pouring raining that day. I never forget that because I was nervous to have been driving, and I got there soaking wet. And I was like, well, God, I was like, if every little barrier came up, I'm still going to be here. And I remember leaving there, and I know that Kenji was one of the first people I called. I think maybe I called Nehemiah, maybe. And I remember it was like a business conference call on the way back to Philadelphia. And these are the things that we got to put in place. And that from there, everything just kind of took off because I had intention from that point. And so that catalyst was Kamari, I will say. Didn't know I cared until I cared. And then I had some great cast of people along the way to help.
So you hear Sonia, she's dropping names, right? So she said Nehemiah. So she's speaking of Nehemiah Davis, another Philly rock star who's doing her thing. I find it interesting that I guess you can call me a catalyst, but I don't really feel that way. I felt like I was, and I'm not trying to be narcissistic. I felt like God put me in that place to a certain degree to help you birth that thing. Right. Because then Sonia had a launch, right? We're going to fast forward. Sonia had a launch and she called me and invited me. Like, Sonia's very personable. She invited me out. And so she did this brief presentation. And so she said, I got mad and I took over the presentation. And I never thought she took over because I thought, we were just having a conversation. And I was just thinking, and I was like, wow. But that particular instance, because I did feel a little way, not really like mad, but I was like, I thought we were just having a genuine conversation because I will shut people down at presentations because I would have just moved on. I didn't want to move on from you because you engaged me and I thought it was so relevant.
Mm-hmm.
But what I learned from that, right, because I'm a male, right? Fragile male egos, right? And I was like, she didn't take over.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, but you know what? The greater goal here was that God's glory was served. And I'm not trying to get preachy or woo.
Yeah, no. Well,
right?
We can go there today.
And, right? and if I can be used as an instrument from that, great. And then boom, you took off. After that launch, you took off. I'm seeing you in the magazine. I'm seeing you on the radio.
Yeah.
I'm seeing you on TV. I'm hearing nothing but rave reviews. Every time I'm on, when we talk about student loans, I usually refer people to you, or at least tell them to come. I haven't tracked if they come, but you're always my go-to person. And I know so many people that have gone to you, and everybody has rave reviews about you. So I was like, I am glad that I could at least be a part of that moment. Again, I don't like the term catalyst because I didn't really have anything to do with that. God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, that was already stirring up.
Mm-hmm.
I just said a word that lit the match, and then boom, you was off and running. And again, I do want to shout out Kenji, right? Mm-hmm. Because from that, I met Kenji that day. And Kenji is actually one of my favorite financial advisors. Mm-hmm. And people know I always say I hate the financial services space because we tend to put sales before stewardship or put sales over people. And I always feel that that's wrong. Kenji doesn't do that. And he is so masterful at his illustrations, at what he does. I mean, I'm a fan of Kenji. I'm a fan of you. And so I was actually thankful for that day in so many different ways. So thank you.
No, thank you. And my IG tribe said, okay, Kamari, who knew? That's so funny. They said awesome. So they're cheering you on IG.
So I guess I need to start doing my IG lives all the time because I'm always worried about the feedback. But you got it going. And I guess what I would be worried about is if I guess we were on at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess we could always run it separately. So that's good. So, all right. Businesses launched. Kenji helped you launch. You talked to the business doctor down in DC. Mm-hmm. You did a lot of professional development.
I did. So the time the student loan doctor was birthed was 2016. In 2015, I think is what I heard you speak, or it could have been at the top of 16. I really was intentional about 15 changing my mindset and my money. So it was good timing for the student loan doctor to be birthed because I had become a new person. I had new friends, new social networks, just really intentional about me. Now 16 came along, and now I'm being included in new spaces. Now I'm being included to go to the White House to be a part of conversations about my administration, of course, that affect African-American women and girls. And I just remember in 16 really discovering and finding purpose. That's what 16 was about. I was making some money with the student loan doctor, but it wasn't really money centered because I hadn't really understood yet what God had wanted me to do. It was about exposure, and it was about understanding really that this was way bigger than me. I know I was on ego and self in 16 at first, but when I left the White House, I remember that day. There was 50 Black women in the room, and I had a chance to speak. And when I left the White House that day, I was like, I'll never leave unchanged. I remember driving back to Philadelphia. I had some girls with me that I went to, and I was quiet. And everybody was so quiet. I was like, oh, I'm just reflective. And I remember thinking, and everybody in the car, they're pretty much still doing their purpose. But I remember thinking, I was like, that was a layup. I was like, that was like a preview as to what God has for me if I'm obedient. And I remember going back to work, that next day. This is a true story. I had my own office there, and I worked for Pierce College. And I remember thinking, I'm going to be leaving these people soon. And I remember it's a messed up thought to have. And probably in the middle of my daydream thought, I get a knock on the door, and it was the college president. Now I like Jim, and Jim supported me in all my graduations. My grandmother passed. I really, really like Jim. And he knocked on the door, and he said, yo, you got a moment? Now, Jim used to visit me when I was downstairs in admissions. He talked, but I don't think he ever walked up around the corner second then to my office. That's a bit of a stretch. And I'm like, oh, I said, oh, well, here's the new office. Here's my plants. I don't know what to do right now. Like this should be a phone call any moment. A student should call. So he said, what did he say? He said, yeah, I heard you were at the White House yesterday. Kind of open-ended. I said, oh, yeah. On the radar. Oh, here we go. I said, oh, I sure was on a PTO. Paid stuff.
You want to make it clear.
I didn't call off. This was scheduled. And I said, yeah. I said, I'm doing some volunteer work after work regarding student loans. I'm telling you, I watered that thing down. Like, woo. Now, at this point, I had been speaking. I had a social media, but who knew, And he said, well, if there's any way the college can ever support you, which is actually true to this day. They have been very, very gracious and supportive. He said, let me know. He said, I just wanted to hear from you. And he said, I'm excited for you. He said, I always knew these things about you. So just whatever you need. So now he leaves. So now I'm like, well, he knew it. What else did he know? Because now I'm like, I ain't supposed to be here. So now remember that was about November, December. I had got an opportunity. It's so interesting how this happens. I got an opportunity to switch jobs. And I think this is why I had to do this. I got an opportunity to work for Montgomery County Community College, and I can say that on record because I still work for them as a contractor with speaking engagements. See, when you leave places the right way, they still like you. They'll hire you back, right?
Well, you know what I'm thinking, right? You know how we have this whole anti-job movement circulating on social, and you're a testament to how actually having a job has now helped you.
Yeah,
you do the right thing on your job.
Yeah,
but a lot of people don't have that mentality to work your job and actually work and leave an impression because you can always go back.
Always go back, and it can pay you for more when you go back later. So the thing is, I probably get paid still a good amount of money from them, like I was when I worked there, because they like me, they know me as a person, my work ethic. I just have my own entity, and I'll pay my own taxes and my health insurance. Thank you.
And at the root of it all, you created a great relationship.
Right.
No matter what business you're in, it's always going to be about the relationship.
Yes. Yep. And I remember even when I left that job, in both jobs actually, I was always told if this didn't work out, they didn't know, don't be embarrassed to apply to come back. We'll take you back in a heartbeat, which is really nice. A lot of jobs do not say that. And Pierce asked me for a year until I yelled at the manager. I said, stop calling me. I said, you're offending me now. I said, I'm up and running. It's going good. Now I'm not being turkey. Leave me alone. So anyway, so long story short, I had went to Montgomery County Community College for a few months, and I remember I felt like God had to take me from Pierce to MCC to ease the transition into entrepreneurship, because I had been with Pierce for 6 years. That was like my family, and the only reason I was able to go from Pierce to MCC, 2 reasons, was because it was a little more money and room for growth, where Pierce was smaller and not as much room. And then the second reason was because I knew I wanted to get the weight loss surgery that I had got. And Pierce's insurance did not cover it by any means. Montgomery County's did cover it. And I knew at the size weight that I was 320 pounds. I knew I needed that surgery. I knew I needed to live. I knew God had for a purpose. And I knew that I knew these things were going to happen, Kamari. I'm being so serious. I knew so much so that when I got to MCC and the work schedule and the work style was not conducive to the student loan doctor, because I had so many clients coming in that I literally had to take days off to fulfill the clients, because the clients would pay more than MCC was paying. That when I left MCC, I did qualify for their insurance through Cobra.
Right.
You know how much Cobra was a month?
It's expensive.
Now, this is a good point for anybody thinking about entrepreneurship.
Yes, Cobra.
Our health insurance, right? And I don't know if this was yet, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't know that I could have been eligible for the Obamacare at that time. So I just knew Cobra. So these are conversations we don't have, right? Cobra was $1,000 a month.
I was going to say 12, but yeah, that's healthy. Yeah.
So for me to be able to pay that $1,000 plus my living expenses, not eat tuna or beans and rice for dinner every night, God was really gracious to me, and I never missed my health insurance payment. It took about 12 of those payments to be able to get my surgery. So you figure I had to put out $12,000 for a $40,000 surgery.
Right.
And so I did all of that, and I persisted through all of that because I was like, if God is promising me what he has been showing me to be true, I'm going to be on stages. I'm going to have to deliver an effective communication, effective message to be able to communicate. And I don't want people to get caught up in my fat. I remember thinking that you're going to see me, you're going to think I'm a nice girl. I got a cute smile. I got a good message, but why is she so fat? And that was the message that I kept hearing, and I wanted to go over and through. And so, yeah, I have a long journey to go with my weight loss, but I look 120 pounds totally different than when I started, because if I'm really going to do God's work, and this is for anybody listening that has an assignment over their life, you're really going to do God's work, you got to start to ask yourself, what is getting in the way of me doing God's work? And for me, I was tight in a lot of areas. I was tight with my money. I was tight with my relationships. I was tight with my goals and ethics, but I wasn't tight with my health. And if God was going to do what he said he was going to do, I had to meet him halfway. So that was the catalyst for what you kind of see now as a whole brand new person. This would be, Kamari, a good time if we could. We can't. But if we were to show a picture, you know how like they do on TV?
Oh, flashback before and after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of surprised. I didn't know you talked about your surgery publicly.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when you first told me we were in New York. I think we bumped into each other in New York at Oprah thing.
I just had it.
Yep. And so I didn't know it was personal. And I figured you were going to say you did it for health reasons, not for necessarily how people perceived you. Because, an entrepreneurial lifestyle can be more demanding because you're working more hours, you're exhausting more energy. But you did it because you didn't want that message to be misconstrued to people. So I didn't know that. I just learned something new about you.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't care. I tell people, judge yourself. See, the thing is, I was borderline going into unhealthy. I was 320, but no medical issues.
Mm-hmm.
But I was 320 with a medical issue around the corner.
Right.
And I wouldn't be able to sustain at that size for too much longer without diabetes, but I did, and I do. I have been diagnosed with lupus. Let me not glaze through that. And I remember when I left and went into into entrepreneurship. Excuse me. I remember thinking entrepreneurship is either going to kill me or save my life.
Right.
And I'm really gracious that it has saved my life, because at the end of the day, I now have more discipline, balance, self-control. I can control when I sleep, eat, you know what I mean? Whereas at work, I was stress eating. I had projects, deadlines, things that I couldn't, control. And so I'm grateful that I can put my finger on it now and control stuff.
Well, let me just take a quick moment for everybody that's just joining. This is the Finance Rebel Show, the Saturday edition. This is our wealth conversations on Saturdays. Today's guest is Sonia Lewis, the student loan doctor. She's a superstar, y'all. I'm just Kamari Ellis. I'm just here to bring out the conversations that we all can use and hopefully help us, one, increase our financial IQ, and two, to inspire us to do our greatest good. And so Sonia was just telling us all about her student loans. We're going to get more into about the work that Sonia does. Again, if you know somebody struggling with student loan debts, student loan problems, student loan payments, share this show with them, because I'm sure there's going to be something there here for them. So Sonia, you got the surgery, you got everything going. Now I want to back up a little bit, because you're a classic to say you were the queen of living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm sure that was part of the fuel that fueled your fire to become a student loan doctor. How did you feel when you were living paycheck to paycheck?
I don't want to be broke no more. I used to live overdraft to overdraft bi-weekly.
I'm sorry, overdraft to overdraft. That's yes.
I was the overdraft queen. That was my nickname. And if anyone knows what that means, we can talk about it offline. But overdrafting for me was really a way of life. I had a systematic plan on how to overdraft, and I did it well. But I said to myself, if I could put that same energy into overdrafting, I could put that same energy into budgeting and doing well with my money. So for me, it was more so about how do I change my mind on not living check to check and not living under what I really do deserve, which is wealth and abundance, I had to first make that up in my mind before I could make the money to reflect it, because I believe that God's never going to give you the money. And I don't see how anybody's going to make six figures and you can't handle $10. You can't handle the paycheck that you're getting now. So let's not pray for things we are not prepared to handle. And I was just like, God, I'm about to show you I can handle $1 million. And I'm still trying to show him, right? I'm not perfect. So for me, it was all about how do I change my mind first before God could change my money? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Now, question. Through your budgeting process, did you discover that you were misspending money, you were not making enough money, or you were too far in debt that it was killing you?
It was probably a combination of both, but it was more so I had a problem with spending money. I had an I deserve syndrome, and it was on the 15th and 30th of the month. Yeah. Because see, I worked at a job that was stressful. So
hold on. Everybody in the comments, put I deserve syndrome. Type in I deserve syndrome. That's very pertinent. I say people have spender's disease. And a lot of times they have spender's disease because they have the I deserve symptoms or syndrome.
And Kumar, I found the picture. They told me on IG to find it. Let's see. Can you see it?
Yes. Yes.
That's me on the right, left, how you see in the screen.
Yeah.
They told me to find it on IG. All right. Thank you for pushing me. I'm like, I know I got it in here somewhere. Yep. Go ahead. Now, what were you saying, Kumar?
No, you were saying you had an I deserve, you had the I deserve syndrome.
I deserve syndrome, yes. And so on the 15th and the 31st, 30th of the month,
payday, every payday.
Yeah. I really would not be a good steward with God's money. I would really pour into what Sonia wanted.
Right.
And then whatever needed to be paid thereafter, I'd figure it out by way of overdrafting. That's not correct, everyone. And somebody could be living like that now. We're not shaming you. We're just going to say that we're not going to live like that anymore. And so we've got to pay what comes first. We've got to pay our debt. You should pay into yourself, right? But don't do what I was doing. I was shopping like it was no tomorrow. And really, the question is, you got to decide what type of life you want. I was listening to Eric Thomas this morning. He was preaching with his Saturday church. And he was really, long story short, basically saying that you've got to commit to whatever it is you want your life to look like. So if you want to live check to check, do what you've been doing. If you want to live more abundantly, change what you've been doing. If you want to live fat, keep eating. That's your prerogative. You may not be here long, but we like you while you're here. Right. If you want to be thinner, you got to do something that thin people do. Thin people walk. Thin people watch what they eat. And then it's this journey. Come on, I want to just say, I miss food. Can I just be real for a minute? I miss certain foods, Kamari. No.
What are the certain foods?
Well, I'm technically vegan now. I'm a little pescatarian here and there.
Okay.
Fish and seafood, but primarily vegan. It's all that's in my house. That's been the same now for a year. Consistent, no slip ups. I definitely had cut meat cold turkey. I could talk about that story in a second, but I walk every day, 5 to 6 miles. Non-negotiable. The only way I'm not walking outside 5, 6 miles if it's pouring down, raining. And even then I'm like, it ain't that bad out there. I never forget one of the truck guys, trash guys pulled over one day. I was walking down Germantown Ave, and he said, "Sis, you'll be out here every day. Every day." He was like, "When do you not walk?" He's like, "It's raining out here." I'm like, "It's not that bad," So for me, I got to keep moving. I got to keep doing what I don't want to do, because I didn't get 320 pounds just for fun. I got there because I got a lazy tendency inside of me. I got there because I got a disposition to be fat. I got there because I grew up with poor eating habits. I got there because nobody stressed the importance of exercise and health as wealth in my life. I had to be my own catalyst. And so if you see me walking, you see me posting, you see me chanting or cheering for my own self, I'm encouraging you, but I'm really keeping me encouraged because I don't want to go back to being fat, Kamari. I don't want to go back to the seatbelt extender. I don't want to go back to the bad back problems. I don't want to go back to the insecurities that was manifesting on the outside. I want to look like the person I always felt like on the inside. So long story short, for me, it's not even about, this new silhouette that's popping out. Wait for that. Wait for that. It's for me, it's about, I want to be able to do what God told me to do, and I want to feel amazing doing it. And when I stand in front of you guys, I don't want to worry about, are you looking at my rolls? Are you looking at my double chin? Are you looking? I just want to execute. And then whatever opinions you got thereof, I'm solid with it. So, but I couldn't say I was honestly there, and I'm just honestly actually getting into that place now. So.
Gotcha. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know, y'all. There's some buzzwords, there's some keywords there. Be my own catalyst. I mean, that one definitely resonated with me because at the end of the day, you always got to motivate you. And if you're not going to motivate you, nobody else is going to do it. I hear a lot of people complain about people not supporting them, family and friends.
Yeah.
They're not going to support you until you get to the mountaintop. You just got to be okay with that. But and that's not because they don't love you.
Right.
Many times they don't understand. And somebody said this, I forget who it was, but it's floating around the internet now. It says, God gave you that charge, or God gave you that vision. He didn't give it to anybody else. So what that means to me is that you can't necessarily worry about what other people are thinking or doing or how they see you. You got to execute on the vision like Sonia just talked about. So, I mean, well, again, Sonia, thank you for being so transparent with us because I know you're very transparent. I don't think I've ever heard you this transparent before. So
yeah, it's probably I'm more of a place of I don't care when you're going through. So when the glow up was happening with business, I was also glowing up physically, and I remember I was like, I had to keep God ahead of all of it because I was looking different. I was bringing in more money. It was a total transformation. Who goes through that normally? Like, that's not normal to go through at once. Weight is dropping, money's going up, and relationships are changing, and influence is changing. And it was just so much for one person. I used to pray that God would keep me sane because sometimes I didn't know what day who I was that day. One day I'm still on doctor, and one day I'm just trying to figure out my new relationship with food. Now people come up and talk to me at the restaurant, and I want to eat, but I can't eat some food because I ate 2 bites. Now I'm mad. So I used to go through a lot mentally. I'm through that place now. And I'm really, really liking the space that I'm in. So I can talk about it a little more because the 18 and part of 19, it wasn't so clear, if that makes sense.
No, I got you. It's always a struggle for me when I do these interviews, right? Because me personally, I'm always interested into the backstory, whereas a lot of times the audience is interested in the how-to or the technical. And I'm like, yo, the real gems are in the story. You just got to be patient and you got to listen for them. Because a lot of times people just want them to be laid out and say, 10 tips to destroy student loan debt. And I understand, like, for us content creators and professionals, we have to put out, good titles to get people's attention. But again, that's the sexy part. But to me, the real sexy part is the story. And I could really sit here and talk to you all day long just about the story and the journey, because the journey is everlasting. You're always going to be going through the journey, but it's finding those things, like you said, I'm my own catalyst. That's a mindset in and of itself. And oftentimes people don't realize that in order to get to that thing that they want to do, be, or become, they have to be the catalyst, but they have to have the mindset in order to do it. So, I'm actually thankful that you even brought this out. Because normal times I might try to swing back to what you do in terms of student loan debt, but I felt that what you were dropping were gems and that people needed to hear it. Thank you for that. But now as we transition, because it's 12:43, I literally could keep you here all day long, right? Tell us how you help people with your student loans.
Yeah, so our service is helping people with their federal student loan debt primarily. Private, we have some really amazing partners that we would refer out to, just because private is a long-term game. And a lot of times we'll work with our clients over a 30 or 60-day period. And so we decided, what did we want to really hone in on? And there's so much federal student loan debt, we probably will not have a shortage anytime soon. So we're helping you. It's regarding repayment plans, consolidation, default rehabilitation, wage garnishment, what's going on with the CARES Act, anything in between. Home buying is a big one for us, particularly. You can't buy a home without addressing your student loan debt first. And so if you're coming to us, you probably are coming to us with the I don't know what to do face. You're confused, you're a little upset, not with us, but maybe in yourself or with your lender. And so at the end of the day, I just tell people come as you are. That's why we have that free call. You don't have to pay anything to be heard. If it's something we can help with, we'll help you. Go to a consultation. We can look at it together. If we can't help you, then we'll tell you why or what resources we can provide. And then that's it from there. And I think that's helped our service be a very honest service, a very respected service. We're not like, come on, give me the money before we talk. Like, no, you can come on these IG lives. You can come on these free webinars.
Right.
You can come onto these in-person events that we have. You can engage with us in so many ways for free that by the time you gave your dollar to us, you had decided that we had earned it because we had given you so much already. And at that point, if you're paying us, it's probably because you're like, you know what, they're the experts, let them handle it. And you don't want to be bothered with it, and that's okay too. So I'm really, really grateful that people work with us and the volume of people that we serve. But I know it's because we do serve with the good intentions first. And I always say to people, if you can do it yourself, I never want to hear, oh, I paid you and I could have did it. Yeah, anybody can do their own taxes, right? Do we want to do them? I don't do my taxes anymore. My taxes would put me into a whole mental health position. Like, no, so I had to give that up, and I went to school for taxes. So no, what I stress to people all of the time is when you're going to experts such as yourself, myself, you're going because you know that person has studied and is disciplined in what they do and how they do it, and you can trust them. We're not going to that person if we're unsure. So never pay us if you're unsure is what I tell people.
Right.
So I've been really, really fortunate. We serve about 500 people a month. When I did it by myself, it was like 50 people.
Wow.
Of course, I had to scale up and hire a team, and it's a very huge infrastructure in place. And then when I look at our business numbers, I'm like, oh, okay, God, that's how we doing it. All right. I didn't never see this much money before. And then now I got to be responsible. I had to learn good stewardship with money because I have a payroll that I'm responsible for. You know what I mean? It's a lot of pressure having a payroll. It sounds really cute out loud, but I'm responsible for somebody's household going afloat. And so when Corona dropped and happened, COVID-19, I'm like, I wanted a prayer, like God sustain our payroll, because the little man isn't getting a lot of the grants and the loans. And of course we apply for them and we're waiting to hear back. But in the midst of waiting, I got to be diligent. Kamari, you said it before we even started. I told you I vamped up my marketing and my outreach efforts during this time because I still got people that got to eat. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Absolutely.
So I can't just be on cruise control because I know it's in my savings. I don't know what's in their savings.
Right.
And so I have to still work as if Corona did not occur. So I probably would say to you, I'm probably working harder during COVID-19 than a lot of people because I know as a small business, the easier thing would say to my team would be, I'm going to have to lay you guys off right now. If you need to get unemployment, yada, yada, yada. But that's not good leadership. Because if I had to do that, I would have to be able to go to sleep at night knowing I did everything I could do as a leader and as a business owner. And until I felt that way, I would not throw in the towel. Right. And so I don't feel that way, obviously. And business probably, to be quite honest, has gone up because of what's been happening because of the COVID, the CARES Act. So it's just about making a decision right now. And particularly when you take on these things, it's never about you anymore. You know, it's about the other people that look up to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now tell us, why do most people wind up in trouble with student loan debts in the Department of Education?
Yeah, because they're ignoring it. So what happens is you graduate, you probably don't even use the degree you were supposed to use. You're irritated. You can't pay for it. And so you think it'll go away. And it's not one of those debts that you're driving around in. You're not driving your degree around every day. You know, you're going to a job, you're probably not even using that degree every day. Nobody in our community is talking about it, so it's under the rug. And then it only comes very pertinent for most people when it is impacting their credit and it's impacting their home buying. And now everybody wants to activate on it. But by the time you decided to do that, by the time you decided to activate how you're activating, well, now we got to clean some stuff up. Now your credit done took some hits. Now we got to put you in a better position. So you want me to kind of undo what you've not been doing for a few years. You got to be patient. And so our clients do see great results. But I do have to, and my coaches will frame the expectation for people, because you were in default and that did take 60 points from you. And maybe we can get your 60 points back, but they're not going to come back tomorrow. It may come back in a series of a few months. So maybe, sis, you should stop looking at houses right now, because this is not the time. You're going to get frustrated. Right now, you're just rebuilding your credit, and you're showing that you could be a good steward with money on paper so that a mortgage company can trust you, right? So that's there are a lot of times in student loan debt, it's not just student loan debt. We're coaching people, we're advising people, we're help reshaping expectations for people. So when you leave us, you don't got to come back. Don't come back. That's not a compliment. Now that some people do, but we don't want you to come back. You come back, it's probably because you didn't catch the message the first time. So, but most people don't. They get it. But yeah, we want people to be secure, straight, and then be able to soar from when they leave us.
Can you give folks an example of like one of the worst case scenarios you've ever had?
Yes. There are 2 clients in this lifetime that we could not help. And I remember them because I know them by name. And I wish it was something we could do. The reason why we couldn't help them is because they had burnt so many agreements with the Department of Education to get out of default and out of wage garnishment that by the time they employed us to help them, we at this point were just in great negotiation with the Department of Education. There was nothing really we could do. And I said this to the client. I said, I can give you your money back and you could take it back literally and, negotiate tomorrow with them if you want it. And he's like, no, I want you to do it because I'm nervous. But then I had to fire him, the one client out of 2. I fired one out of 2 because the government does not negotiate with terrorists, all right? So
neither should you.
No, he was trying to go back and forth with the government about what he could and couldn't do. And every time we called back, they increased the payment price they wanted by $25. And I remember saying to myself, they're not going to keep giving you a break. This is about to get really expensive. Do you see the trend here, sir? And, he was so hard-headed that with love, I had to fire him because I didn't want it on my record that the payment was going to be $250. But now by this call, it's at $400. It's not going well. I need to pull out. So, yeah. So, but that was probably the greatest negative example. The greatest positive example would be she became a good friend now. Her name's Keisha, but she was a client at first. And Keisha was a nurse, and Keisha knows I tell the story. And she was fly, and as a nurse, she had money coming in all type of ways, but she was in default. And Keisha wasn't nice in the beginning. She was mean. I thought she was. And then we got her out of default. And on that last appointment, Keisha came with a bag. And I'm like, what the hell was in the bag? We ain't got nothing to bring to this appointment. But so she brought a bag of cakes and sweets. And I'm like,
as you're struggling with your food, right?
Right. No, wait, hold on. Was this before the weight loss surgery? Well, this might be right before or right at that time. We were in camp. So she didn't know. I give her a pass. But I said, well, who made that? And she said, I made it. I said, you cook? And she said, yeah. I said, I never heard you talk about being a baker. And she said, yeah. She said, I've been baking more because I've been inspired. I feel like I can start my business now because I don't have this debt weighing over me. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. So I fed the cake to someone else first. They didn't die. And then I ate the cake. You know what I'm saying? But anyway.
You're wrong.
I love you. I'm playing. And I ordered from her to this day. But now Keisha has a booming baking business as a result of her getting out of her own way with her student loan debt. So every time I see her post, every time I see her getting in, and every time I place an order from her, I feel proud because I know that was the silent thing that was stopping her gift from emerging, was the debt that was keeping her up at night. And now she sees a way out. And so I'm excited because somebody watching this has some major student loan debt or major debt that's stopping them from birthing their gift. And It's just as simple as, you really do underestimate something like student loan debt that is stopping you from living your wildest dreams, marrying the person you want to marry, being where you want to be, travel where you want to travel, because you got this thing that nobody knows that's really hindering you. And if you could just get on the other side of it, you'll be a lighter person. So,
wow, yeah, that's awesome. So, student loans stopped Keisha from starting her bakery business.
yes.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
That's good. So now I'm excited. I really am every time I see her posting, just like have a 2-second moment. Because I remember The Office. I remember thinking, is this cake good? Is she trying to I at the fault,
Right. That's funny. That's funny. All right. So as we wrap up, we want to open it up for Q&A. Anybody that has any questions for Sonia regarding student loans, feel free to ask away. I think there might already be some comments or questions in the chat already. Remember, we are broadcasting live on Facebook.
Oh, wow, this whole time I didn't know there was live comments over here.
Yep.
Tells you so much. I know how to work platforms. I'm like, oh, it's so quiet. Just talk to you. Hey, kings and queens. I'm glad to see your comments. That's funny.
I don't see any questions. Yes, use a job at the job. Yep. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to submit them now.
I'm reading the comments now.
Yeah, there are a lot of comments. They love you.
Yeah, this is fun. I'm like, this is good. All right, new comments are emerging.
Let's see. Here's one that's very popular. Edith Richards asks, is the government discussing forgiving student loans?
Yeah, so right now, the upcoming election is going to be used to buy your vote for student loan debt. Student loan debt is going to be used to buy your vote. And I'm saying that in a joking but serious way. So we got Biden like, I'm gonna erase all undergraduate debt. And then Trump's like, offline, I might erase debt, period. Now, Trump, I need you to come online and say that. And then the question is, I know we don't like Trump, but what happens when you get behind that curtain to vote and you got 200,000? He just said, I'm going to eradicate all student loan debt. What do you vote for, Kamara? We're not going to get political, but that's.
I have no problem getting political. I get political all the time.
That's going to be people's burden. You can say to me right now, for a lot of people, I would never vote for Trump on anything, but you're walking around with 300,000 student loan debt. The finger might slip on his name. Not saying it's right. Don't agree with it or advocating for it. But this election is going to be unprecedented as to how they're going after the millennial vote, the minority vote. And they're going to pull out all stops. So you have to be prepared. You have to be educated. And you've got to trust whoever you're going to put into office. That's the other part. So I think that's going to happen.
I mean, I agree with that. I think if Trump actually did that, though, it's only to get the vote to extend. He doesn't believe it. And me personally, I wouldn't vote for Trump if he gave me $1 million. But that's just me. My soul is not for sale. This man has babies in cages at the border. And I think that's something you got to take really serious. Now, to Sonia's point, though, I agree with her 1,000%. Somebody's going to say, I have $200,000 in student loan debt, and I need to get that off my back. Mm-hmm. And I want to push the button for Trump. I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it. And I think, as professionals, we have to be able to step outside of ourselves and try to be as objective as possible and understand why somebody might have made a decision that they made, whether it be politics, money, whatever it may be. So again, I agree with your analysis on you, 1,000%. 1,000%. Now, Alexandria, you said you got a question. By the way, Alexandria was one of the people that asked for a student loan session. And I said, well, I'm not going to do a student loan session.
Oh, okay.
I'm bring the boss on to do the student loan session, and the boss is.
Alexandria.
Yeah,
I see her question here. She said, one of my schools asked me to come back and discuss waiving some of my old student loan debt. So, Alexandria, when that happens, they're most likely able to waive any fees, penalties that they are holding as an institution. They necessarily can't waive your federal debt, but if you, let's say, have a balance unpaid with them, they're able to discharge it or clear it. I have seen that. I used to work in higher ed. For you to restart your education, and complete your education with them. So that could be what they're referring to. Now, again, if this is something new or indifferent, I haven't been in higher ed in a minute, I'm going to apologize in advance. So you want to get clarity to ask, which debt are they waiving? The debt that you owe the institution or the debt that you owe the lender? So you just want to get that clarity. And then if so, if you're comfortable with it, then I would proceed ahead. But just want to get the exact details will be the key.
You got that right. All right, here's another question.
Yep.
What's the best way? Sierra Roberts says, what is the best way to remove student debt with a borrower's defense? I don't even know what that is.
Yep.
So, I'm glad I brought Sonia.
Yeah, the borrower's defense program is really great. It's probably going to be utilized more as more and more for-profit institutions are closed down. With the borrower defense program, however, you do have to be able to show proof that when the school closed down, it was while you were in school or while you were in progress, if you were on approved leave of absence. Not so much that you graduated years later and then they closed, because you could have taken those credit and transferred them. You could be using them in the workplace. And so they probably won't approve that. Not saying it couldn't happen, just probably would not. So you want to speak with someone at the Ombudsman group to find out if your particular situation will qualify before applying for this to be eradicated. Could be possible.
Sonia, what is a buyer's defense? Like, what exactly is that?
The borrower's defense is a separate group and entity that kind of works alongside with the Department of Education to help students that have been a victim of for-profit institutions, illegal admission practices and financial aid practices. If anything would have happened with the school, they weren't credited and advertised as was when I went. Yep. So Sierra, that may be a good option for you to consider contacting the borrower's defense. They do have a 1-800 number or the Ombudsman group to see if your situation would qualify. Based off of that conversation, I would do the application. I must note that if you're looking to do anything like home buying, anything that's going to be pertaining to your credit, you may want to hold off for a moment, because then that's going to put you in like a administrative forbearance space while they evaluate your situation. And then you can't do anything new with your loans at that point to get into a home. So that happened to someone I know. So I said that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Everybody just watching, you're watching the Finance Rebel Show. I am Kamari Ellis, the Finance Rebel. Today we have a super duper special guest, Sonia Lewis, a student loan doctor. I hope you all have enjoyed her. We have a few more minutes for questions. Gotta let Sonia go. I don't know if Sonia, did you do your 5 to 6 mile walk yet?
No, I gotta go. I go walking every day. Look, I'm looking outside like I gotta go sit every day, 1 and 2 o'clock, just because that's the warmest time of the day right now.
Right.
And then when it gets warmer, I move it back up to the morning hours, and I block my mornings. What do? I block my mornings from realistically 8:30 to 11:30. So excited to go back to that schedule because it's more conducive. But yes, I'm super excited. I love my walks. You can hear my enthusiasm.
You ever walk with a weight vest?
I'm not doing that. I got enough weight. Yeah.
Gotcha. That was something I used to do. It helped me out a lot.
It did? Okay.
Yeah. Nothing crazy, about 10 pounds.
Okay.
So now is the perfect time. Sonia, please give your information.
Yeah.
So people can reach out to you.
Yes, Instagram is you got to wrap up too. So the website, everyone, is drpleasehelpme.com.
Doctor, so is that Dr. DR or DOC?
Any way you want to spell it, I have it both ways. I never want anybody to think too hard. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's however you want to spell it. Doctor spelled out or abbreviated, pleasehelpme.com. And IG, the student loan doctor, is where we live. We have a lot of things coming up. We have a class starting up, a 30-day wellness course where we're focusing on self-care, goal planning for our bonus class. That's tomorrow night at 9 p.m. But then 4 weeks of financial literacy, budgeting, student loans, real estate investing, stock investing, home buying, while bringing different speakers. And the class is $37. So if you're interested, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram and send a message to get in class. We have a good time. It's through a Zoom. We can see each other, talk to each other. That class has been phenomenal. I posted reviews on IG about the class recently so that people can know what they're going to get themselves into. And then tomorrow night, we're having a student loan webinar, sldwebinars.com, sldwebinars.com. Again, you can click
Or SL.
S is in Larry, S is in Sally, L is in Larry, D is in dog, webinar.
Their website, SLD Webinars.
Yep, .com. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you can go straight there to register for the webinar that's happening tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. So, all right, I'm going to end IG Live so we can save this. Hold on.
I just wanted to share that with everyone. SLD Webinars, everybody. SLDwebinars.com. And do you have a phone number or?
Yeah, 267-386-1116. And they'll have the different extensions. They need student loan help. They can dial 0 Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay, so 267-386-1136.
Yep. So if they want to register for a free call, they can do it through the phone when they call, or they can go online at drpleasehelpme.com. Either one. We have 60 ways to get in touch with us.
All right, so I got them all. So we got drpleasehelpme.com. Right, drpleasehelpme.com, sldwebinars.com, and finally, because nobody really calls anymore, right? Texts and email stuff, 267-386-1136. Again, 267-386-1136 if they need help with their student loan debt.
Yep. I'm excited. We are coming into a good time where people are craving good information. So I just appreciate when people engage with us, because you're responsible for your own life. You're responsible now for what you do and do not know once you've been exposed to it. So we just encourage people to keep listening to you. I appreciate your show. If somebody leaves this show not knowing how to move forward, that's on them, because you've given them tools now, and all they've got to do is put some strategy behind it. So I'm excited for everyone listening and tuning in, because something's going to change within them as a result of watching today.
Absolutely. Well, Sonia, I appreciate you being here. Yeah. I know you got to do your walk. Yeah. You have to stop that, because listen, health is wealth, and wealth is health, right? Either way you go at it. If you are not healthy enough to spend all that money you made, what's it for, right? So, but Sonia, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Please go follow Sonia, the Student Loan Doctor, the Student Loan Doctor, Facebook, IG. Are you on Twitter?
Twitter, yes, like _student loan doc. I'm on there just a little. I'm more so there to watch the president and the shenanigans that are going on. But yeah.
Right, gotcha. But listen, just Google Student Loan Doctor and you'll find Sonia. All right, everybody. Everyone have a great Saturday.
Yes.
Do some studying, do some exercise, do something to improve your life overall, and take the next steps forward so you can live in your own greatness. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining the Finance Rebel Show, our special Saturday edition of Wealth Conversations. We'll be back on Wednesday when we do our live Q&A at 8 o'clock, and next Saturday as well. But until then, I'll see you all later. Same Rebel time, same Rebel station. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.